I returned home from medical school after 10 years, only to find my mother living in her own mansion as a maid for my stepfather and his mistress. Hi everyone. Before we go on, show your love by subscribing and saying hi in the comments. Share your location too. We love hearing from you. Let's get back to the story. The plane touched down at 3:47 p.m. and my hands wouldn't stop shaking. 10 years. A decade of sleepless nights, crushing student debt, and sacrifice had finally led to this moment. Dr. Susan Harrison coming home. I'd imagined this day 1,000 times during my residency. Mom would be at the airport, tears streaming down her face, arms wide open. We'd drive to the house on Willow Creek Drive, the one Dad left us before he died, and she'd have prepared my favorite meal. But Mom wasn't at the airport. My calls went straight to voicemail. I texted my stepfather, Sebastian, who'd married Mom 8 years ago during my second year of med school. Busy. Your mother will see you at home, he replied. Cold. Dismissive. Typical Sebastian. The Uber driver wound through familiar streets, and my chest tightened with anticipation. When we pulled up to the house, my breath caught. The lawn was immaculate, the mansion gleaming like something from a magazine. Dad's insurance money and Mom's careful savings had maintained it perfectly. Pride swelled in my chest until I saw her. My mother. My beautiful, dignified mother. Wearing a gray maid's uniform, scrubbing the front steps on her hands and knees in the August heat. Her hair, once always perfectly styled, was tucked under a cleaning cap. Her hands were red and raw. Mom. The word barely escaped my throat. She looked up, and the light that sparked in her eyes died instantly, replaced by fear. She glanced nervously at the house, then back at me. Susan, she whispered. You should have called first. Before I could process what I was seeing, the front door swung open. A woman I'd never seen before stepped out. Early 30s, dripping in designer clothes, red stilettos clicking against the marble. She looked at my mother with pure disdain. Coraline, you missed a spot, she said, her voice like poisoned honey. Sebastian won't be happy. You know how he gets. My mother, the woman who raised me to stand tall, who never took disrespect from anyone, nodded meekly. Yes, Miss Cassidy. I'll fix it right away. Miss Cassidy? My blood ran cold. I stepped forward, every muscle in my body tensed. Excuse me, who the hell are you and why are you talking to my mother like that? The woman's eyes slid over me, assessing, calculating. A smile curved her lips, not friendly, predatory. Oh, you must be the daughter. Sebastian mentioned you might show up eventually. I'm Cassidy. I live here. He paused, letting it sink in. With Sebastian. The world tilted. You live here? In my mother's house. Cassidy laughed, a sharp, brittle sound. Your mother's house? Sweetie, this is Sebastian's house now. Has been for 6 years. Didn't she tell you? Her eyes gleamed with malicious pleasure. Coraline is our housekeeper. She earns her keep. Don't you, Coraline? I looked at my mother, waiting for her to explode, to curse this woman out, to reclaim her dignity. Instead, she stood there, shoulders hunched, eyes on the ground. Mom, what is she talking about? Susan, please, Mom whispered. Just, let's not make a scene. I pushed past Cassidy into the house. My house, the home where Dad and I had built a tree house in the backyard, where Mom taught me to make her grandmother's cornbread. Everything was different. The family photos were gone, replaced by modern art. The furniture Mom had carefully chosen was replaced with cold, expensive pieces that had no soul. Sebastian emerged from the den, drink in hand, looking older but somehow more smug than I remembered. Susan. You're here. No hug, no warmth. Just a statement. What the hell is going on, Sebastian? Why is my mother dressed like a maid? Why is that woman living here? He sighed like I was a child throwing a tantrum. Your mother and I have an arrangement. After some financial difficulties, we restructured things. The house is in my name now. She wanted to stay, so she works for her room and board. It's actually quite generous if you think about it. Generous. I could barely form words. Financial difficulties? My mother had over $300,000 from my father's life insurance policy. She owned this house outright. Sebastian swirled his drink. Medical care is expensive, Susan. Your schooling required support. Your mother made investments that didn't pan out. I helped her. She signed everything over to me to avoid bankruptcy. It was the responsible thing to do. You're lying. But even as I said it, I saw Mom's face, guilt, shame, defeat written in every line. The papers are all legal, Sebastian continued smoothly. Ask your mother. She'll tell you. I turned to her, searching her eyes for the truth. Mom. She finally met my gaze and I saw tears threatening to spill. He's telling the truth, baby. I made mistakes. Mom led me through the house, down a hallway I barely recognized to a door near the kitchen. My old bedroom, the room with the window seat where I'd spent hours reading, the walls I'd painted lavender, now belonged to Cassidy's personal gym. Mom's room, the master suite where she and Dad had shared their lives, was now Sebastian and Cassidy's domain. Where do you sleep? I asked, though dread already filled my stomach. She opened the basement door. The stairs creaked as we descended into dim, musty air. At the bottom, she pulled a chain and a bare bulb illuminated a small partitioned area, maybe 10 by 10 feet. A twin mattress on the floor, a small dresser, a hot plate. A bathroom barely bigger than an airplane lavatory. Mom, no. Tears burned my eyes. No. You're living in a basement? In your own house. She sat on the mattress looking so small, so defeated. It's not so bad, Susan. I have a roof over my head. I have food. You have prison conditions. Mom, you worked 2 jobs to keep this house after Dad died. You sacrificed everything. How did this happen? Her hands twisted in her lap and the story spilled out. After I left for medical school, she'd been lonely. Sebastian had been charming, attentive. They married quickly, too quickly. First things were good. But then he needed money for a business investment. Just temporary, he said. She trusted him, signed a loan using the house as collateral. The business failed, she whispered. Or maybe it never existed. I don't know anymore. Suddenly, I owed hundreds of thousands. Sebastian said he'd handle it, but I had to sign the house over to him temporarily for tax purposes. Once his name was on the deed, everything changed, Mom continued, her voice hollow. He brought Cassidy home 6 months later. Said she was his business partner. Then she just never left. He told me I could either accept the new arrangement or leave with nothing. He showed me the papers I'd signed, loan guarantees, promissory notes, things I didn't understand. He said I owed him over $400,000. My medical training kicked in, the analytical part of my brain working despite my rage. Mom, that's financial abuse. It's probably fraud. We can fight this. She grabbed my hand, desperation in her eyes. I tried, baby. 2 years ago I contacted a lawyer. Sebastian found out. He threatened to have me charged with fraud, said he had evidence I'd forged documents. I couldn't afford a lawyer to fight it. And he said. Her voice broke. He said if I caused trouble he'd make sure you knew what a failure I was. That he'd tell you I'd squandered your father's legacy. I couldn't bear that. So you've been living like this for 6 years? Working as a maid in your own home? Why didn't you tell me? Because you were building your life. You were becoming a doctor. I read every email about your achievements, saw every photo you sent. You were glowing, Susan. How could I burden you with this? I told myself once you finished, once you were stable, then maybe. She wiped her eyes. I'm just so ashamed. The pieces clicked together. The brief calls over the years, the way she'd always say she was fine, the excuses for why I couldn't visit. I'd been so consumed with my training, my own survival, that I'd missed the signs. That evening, Sebastian insisted I join them for dinner. A proper welcome home. I wanted to refuse, to grab Mom and run, but something in her pleading eyes stopped me. She was afraid, I realized. Afraid of what Sebastian would do if I made waves. The dining room table, Dad's table where we'd shared countless family meals, was set with expensive china. Cassidy sat at the head like a queen, Sebastian beside her. Mom served the food, standing silently by the wall like furniture. Sit down, Mom, I said firmly. Sebastian's jaw tightened. Coraline has already eaten. She prefers to serve. I prefer my mother to be treated like a human being. Cassidy laughed, cutting into her steak. Sensitive, isn't she? Sebastian told me you were the dramatic type. Look, sweetie, your mother is an adult. She made her choices. We're providing her with housing and meals. Plenty of people would be grateful for that arrangement. Grateful? She owns this house. Owned, Sebastian corrected. Past tense. I have the deed. The law is on my side. He leaned back confident. You're a doctor now, right? Smart girl. You understand how the world works. Your mother lived beyond her means, made poor decisions. I saved her from homelessness. The least she can do is contribute to the household. I looked at Mom, still standing like a statue, and something inside me snapped. Mom, pack your things. You're leaving with me tonight. She can leave any time, Sebastian said smoothly. But she'll leave with nothing. No money, no possessions. And I'll file charges for theft and fraud. Is that what you want for her? I couldn't sleep that night in a hotel room that cost more than I should spend. My mind raced, replaying every conversation, every detail. By dawn I'd made a plan. I contacted my mentor from residency, Dr. Rhodes, whose brother was a lawyer specializing in elder abuse and fraud. 3 days later, I sat in Attorney James Rhodes's office, his sharp eyes scanning documents I'd convinced Mom to smuggle out. Bank statements, the deed transfer, loan documents, emails. His expression grew darker with each page. This is textbook financial abuse, he said finally. These loan documents are suspicious as hell. The amounts don't match, the terms are predatory, and several signatures look forged, probably your mother's, made under duress. The deed transfer happened when she was clearly under extreme financial stress. We can fight this. How long will it take? 6 months, maybe a year. And it won't be cheap. He quoted figures that made my heart sink. My student loans were crushing me. I'd just started my first attending position. I had maybe 15,000 in savings. I thought of Mom in that basement, serving meals to her husband's mistress, scrubbing floors in the home she'd built with my father. I'll figure it out. File everything. I want Sebastian and Cassidy buried in legal paperwork. But when I returned to the house to tell Mom, my confidence wavered. She sat on her basement mattress, a fresh bruise on her arm. What happened? I tripped on the stairs, she said quickly. Too quickly. Mom, did Sebastian hurt you? She wouldn't meet my eyes. Please, Susan. Just leave it alone. You've done enough. Go live your life. I'll be fine. I couldn't leave. Instead, I moved into an extended stay hotel nearby and began documenting everything. I visited daily, taking photos, noting injuries, recording conversations. I discovered Mom worked from 5 a.m. to midnight most days. She wasn't allowed to eat meals with Sebastian and Cassidy. She had to ask permission to leave the house. Her phone was monitored. One afternoon, I arrived to find Cassidy screaming at Mom over a wrinkled tablecloth. You useless bitch. Do you know how much this cost? Sebastian. Sebastian, come deal with your wife. That's enough, I said, stepping between them. Cassidy's eyes flashed. This doesn't concern you. This is between family. She's not your family. She's your victim. Victim. Cassidy laughed. Your mother is a grown woman who made her own choices. She wanted to leave, she could. But she stays because she has nowhere else to go, no one else who'd put up with her. She's lucky we're kind enough to let her stay. Something in me ignited. I got close to Cassidy, close enough to see the calculation in her eyes. Let me make something very clear. You're living in stolen luxury. You're sleeping in a dead man's bed, eating off his table and terrorizing his widow. My father died protecting this family, and you're pissing on his memory. That ends now. Is that a threat? Cassidy's voice rose. Sebastian. Your daughter is threatening me. Sebastian appeared and I expected anger. Glad he looked worried. Good. He should be. Susan, let's talk privately, he said, trying to usher me toward the den. I shook him off. No more private conversations. No more secrets. I want everyone to hear this. I've hired a lawyer. Sebastian's face went pale. You what? A lawyer. A very good one who specializes in financial elder abuse and fraud. He's reviewed all the documents and guess what? They're full of irregularities. Forged signatures, predatory lending terms, suspicious transfers. You're going to lose this house, Sebastian. And you might end up in prison. You can't prove anything, he said, but his voice wavered. Actually, I can. My mother kept every email, every text, every piece of paper. She photographed every bruise, every injury. She documented 6 years of abuse. And I've been adding to it for the past 2 weeks. 2 cameras, Sebastian. 1 in the kitchen, 1 in the hallway. All legal, all admissible. I'd installed tiny cameras with Mom's terrified permission, catching Cassidy's verbal abuse, Sebastian's controlling behavior, the reality of Mom's servitude. The footage was damning. Cassidy's face twisted with rage. You little bitch. You think you're so smart with your degree and your attitude. You have no idea what your mother really is. Shut up, I said coldly. Save it for court. You're going to need a good story. That night, Sebastian tried to negotiate. He offered Mom $50,000 to go away quietly, to sign papers saying everything had been consensual. I laughed in his face. 50,000? This house is worth 1.2 million. My mother's suffering is worth more than your insulting bribe. Over the next weeks, the case built momentum. Attorney Rhodes filed emergency motions. Other victims came forward. Sebastian had run this scam before, targeting vulnerable widows. The district attorney got involved. But legal battles take time, and time meant Mom still lived in that basement. I visited every day bringing food, medicine, hope. One evening, I found her on the basement floor, sobbing so hard she couldn't breathe. Mom, what happened? Between gasps, the truth came out. Cassidy had found her wedding rings. The ones from Dad, the ones Mom had hidden away because they were the only things she had left of him. Cassidy had flushed them down the toilet, laughing while she did it. She said I didn't deserve them, Mom wept. Said I was nothing, nobody, that even you would eventually see what a burden I am and leave me too. She said Dad would be ashamed of what I've become. I held her, feeling her body shake with years of accumulated grief and humiliation. In that moment, something fundamental shifted inside me. I'd been playing by the rules, trusting the system, believing justice would prevail. But the system moved slowly, and my mother was dying by inches every day she stayed in this house. Mom, I said, my voice steady despite the rage burning through me. We're leaving. Tonight. Pack whatever you can carry in 10 minutes. Susan, no. The lawyer said. I don't care what the lawyer said. I'm not leaving you here another night. We'll figure out the legal stuff later. Right now, I'm taking my mother home. Fear and hope warred in her eyes. But Sebastian will. Sebastian can go to hell. I stood up, pulled her to her feet. You are Coraline Harrison. You survived losing the love of your life. You raised a daughter alone. You worked 2 jobs to give me a future. You are not a victim. Not anymore. We moved fast. Mom stuffed clothes into a trash bag while I loaded her few possessions into my car. My hands shook with adrenaline. Any moment, Sebastian or Cassidy could appear. Any moment this could go wrong. As we headed for the stairs, I heard voices above. Sebastian and Cassidy, arguing about money. About the lawsuit. About whether to deal with me. Mom froze, terror on her face. I put my finger to my lips, guided her up the stairs. We crept through the kitchen past the dining room. The front door was 10 feet away. Freedom. Then the floor creaked. What was that? Cassidy's voice, sharp with suspicion. I grabbed Mom's hand and ran. We burst through the front door, down the steps, reached my car. Behind us, Sebastian shouted. I threw Mom's bag in the back seat, shoved her into the passenger seat and peeled out of the driveway. In the rearview mirror, I saw Sebastian standing on the lawn, phone to his ear. Let him call the cops. Let him try to explain why his wife was fleeing their home with nothing but a trash bag of clothes. Mom started laughing. A wild, slightly hysterical sound that turned into crying. I can't believe we just did that. Oh my God, Susan. What did we just do? We just took back your life. I reached over, squeezed her hand. Whatever happens next, we face it together. You're never going back there. Never. We drove to my hotel and I got her set up in a second room. She sat on the bed, looking around like she couldn't believe it was real. A clean room. A comfortable bed. Freedom. Tomorrow we start over, I told her. The legal battle that followed was brutal. Sebastian filed police reports claiming Mom had stolen property. Cassidy tried to get restraining orders. They hired expensive lawyers and fought dirty. But Attorney Rhodes was better. The evidence was overwhelming. Financial records showed Sebastian had systematically drained Mom's accounts through fake investments and predatory loans. The cameras captured undeniable abuse. 3 other women came forward with similar stories. Sebastian's ex-wife, 2 former girlfriends. He'd been running variations of this con for 15 years. The judge was a black woman in her 60s who'd seen too many cases like this. When Cassidy tried to claim Mom had been a willing participant, the judge cut her off. I've reviewed the evidence, Miss Cassidy. What I see is a pattern of financial abuse, psychological manipulation and exploitation. Mrs. Harrison lost her husband and instead of receiving support from her new spouse, she was systematically stripped of her dignity, her assets, and her autonomy. You participated in that abuse. You benefited from it. Don't stand in my court and pretend otherwise. The house was returned to Mom. Sebastian was ordered to pay restitution. Every penny he'd taken plus damages. Criminal charges were filed. Cassidy, facing charges as an accomplice, fled before the verdict. Last I heard she was in another state probably running the same con. Mom and I stood on the front steps of the house, her house, as the sheriff removed Sebastian's belongings. He looked smaller somehow, diminished without his power. You've ruined me, he spat at Mom. She looked at him and I saw steel in her eyes that had been missing for years. No, Sebastian. You ruined yourself. I just stopped letting you ruin me too. We won. The house, the money, the justice, we won it all. Mom moved back into the master bedroom, slowly reclaiming each room, each space that had been stolen from her. We repainted, replaced furniture, exorcised the ghosts of Sebastian and Cassidy from every corner. I should have felt triumphant. Instead I felt hollow. Because the truth was we won in court but we'd lost so much more. Mom wasn't the same woman I'd left 10 years ago. The damage Sebastian had inflicted went deeper than money or property. I watched her flinch at sudden noises. I saw her apologize for taking up space. 6 years of psychological torture had left scars that no legal victory could heal. And I'd lost time. 10 years I'd been chasing my dream while she suffered. 10 years of phone calls where she'd hidden her pain because she loved me too much to burden me. We couldn't get those years back. Do you hate me? She asked one night, sitting in the living room we'd restored. Hate you? Mom, why would I hate you? For not telling you. For being weak. For letting it happen. Tears slipped down her cheeks. You're my daughter. I was supposed to protect you and instead you had to save me. I knelt before her, took her hands. You protected me my whole life. You gave me everything so I could become a doctor. You stayed in hell so I could chase heaven. I don't hate you. I hate that you felt you had to suffer alone. We held each other and cried, for lost time, for lost innocence, for the price of survival. The house is ours now, but it will never feel the same. Too many ghosts. We're selling it, splitting the money. Mom's moving to be near me, starting fresh somewhere new. She's in therapy, taking it day by day, learning to trust herself again. I still practice medicine, but I see my patients differently now. I recognize the signs of abuse, the hidden suffering, the silent cries for help. I save people every day, but I couldn't save my mother from years of torment. Some victories come too late. Some justice costs too much. But we survived. And maybe that's enough. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe. Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you or someone you love experienced financial abuse? You're not alone. And remember, it's never too late to reclaim your life.